So tonight we've just got a simple little presentation on whether or not building bee equipment is right for you. This is just kind of keeping up with our, winter beekeeping tasks that we can work on when we can't really look at hives. So should you build your own beekeeping equipment? And I'd like to start off with, the adage that I've heard 100 times: if you ask 10 beekeepers the same question, you'll get 11 different answers. A lot of the stuff that you find on the internet and talking to different people, most people are pretty against building equipment, and hopefully I can shed some light on the truths behind that by looking at some pros and cons and basic tools needed and some actual cost analysis of building versus buying. So some of the pros, as I said earlier, it's a great way to spend, your winter months building equipment in the wood shop and, spending more time on your hobby that you can't really do much in this part of the season. There is a good level of self-satisfaction in building a hive, such as the one on the right there, that you can show off to people and use for, a couple of decades. That's something that you built and use every day. Quality by far is a lot better for anything that I've built anyway than stuff that you buy. Just everything fits together a lot better. If you're like me, you've bought equipment before and pieces don't fit good or they don't match up very well. So, that's really a big plus for me, is that the quality is a lot better if you build it yourself. You can make it a family affair, get your kids involved, wife, kids, and, get them into beekeeping if they're not really, wanting to mess with the bees right offhand. They can help build equipment to kind of get their feet wet. You can modify some designs, such as that picture there on the right. If you wanted to make a hive body with a peephole in the side, sort of like a flow hive has, the modifications are endless for anything that you want to do different or do better than a tried and true design, Langstroth design. Same thing next, experiment with different hive designs and equipment configurations. If you want to, build different styles of hives, such as a top bar hive, you can do that if, you're willing to, if you have the equipment and you're willing to build some stuff yourself, which is not something that's easily bought. And another big one is you can save money if you have access to some of the basic tools that are needed. And if you're like me, you increased your numbers a whole lot in one year and really needed some equipment that you wish you had bought the year before. So here's what I was getting at. There's several different types of hives that you can find plans for that I'm sure all have different benefits to their design, but are not really easily bought, because I'm pretty sure that top bar hive there was running about $400, and I'm sure that you can build it for a lot less. The resource hive on the bottom right, I'm pretty sure Miller sells that for around $110 or $20, I believe. And, there's not that much to that.
Is that a deep with two nukes on top?
2 4-frame nukes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think the bottom board and top cover are standard. Yeah, because it's a 10-frame bottom with a divider board where you can have 2 4 frames on each side. but that thing's ridiculously expensive. That is not very difficult to do.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the cons, one thing for sure is you need a wood shop or a building to build the equipment. But if you have a family member or friend that has this, it's, it wouldn't be trouble, I'm sure, to ask if you could use it for a weekend or two, and you could knock a lot of this stuff out if you were wanting to build it. One thing I've come across a lot on the internet reading about building equipment is people say that it's time consuming and not worth the effort. Well, seems like beekeeping about is the same way. If you're worried about how much time that you're investing in something that you enjoy doing, most hobbies would fall into that category. And I guess another thing would be that you'd have to, be somewhat of a woodworker or a do-it-yourselfer, for building stuff to come easy, or easier to you. It's not that it's difficult, but just it would be a lot easier in the long run. So some basic equipment. The one thing that you definitely have to have if you're wanting to build anything is a table saw with a dado blade set. This one picture here would be a high-end example where if you didn't have anything, you're looking at a $800 saw. But these pieces of equipment over here, maybe you are wanting to do some remodeling on your house, or you're thinking about getting into woodworking anyway, or anything like that. This may be another step in that direction of buying a piece of equipment or two. It surely wouldn't be worthwhile to go out and spend $1,000 to build 2 beehives. No, but if you were wanting to really increase your beekeeping operation, there's a lot to be saved in going this route. So another thing would be chop saw, basic hand tools. Most people have these things anyway: tape measure, tin snips, hammer, drill. And you can set up shop in a basement, a garage, even out on your carport. Anywhere that's pretty much covered, you can set up and cut and assemble things. Some non-essential items that would make the job a lot easier, but definitely aren't required, would just be air nailers and router tables and drill presses and that sort of thing. But you can get by with building everything really with a table saw. You can even use a circular saw instead of a chop saw. Most people have one of those too. So you can build most of this stuff with very limited equipment if you're willing to put the time in. So here's a cost analysis I looked at I figured up for if you were just to go to Lowe's and buy wood and build the equipment yourself. These are the price differences in what you have versus what it would cost you to buy. So the total down here at the bottom is for a deep and medium setup with frames for both Miller and if you were to build it. And then the kit is just a single deep that Miller offers. Startup kit with just a single deep and frames. So you can see on the right, there's maybe. Yeah, so you can see on the right that there is, substantial savings in building the equipment yourself, on the hand of close to 50%. So, if you were really wanting to, expand your beekeeping operation, it may may very be worthwhile to look into building stuff yourself to save that cost. Because me personally, I grew 10 hives this year, and several of them needed mediums and deeps, and I spent a ton of money buying equipment this year that I didn't have a chance to build. So, the only thing that you cannot build cheaper than you can buy is a hive body. And that's just because the 1x12 is so expensive to buy it at Lowe's. But if you have access to scrap wood, or you have a planer or anything like that you can mill down wood yourself, that's a substantial cost savings that you can accumulate that way. I know Barnyard Bees, if anybody's watched his videos on YouTube, he's got a yard full of nukes that are made out of OSB board that are painted really heavy. And, you could build a nuke for probably $5 if you were wanting to, get into that angle of beekeeping. So, all this is sort of tailored to someone who's wanting to, grow their apiary, to some substantial numbers, maybe not for a sideline beekeeper, but, puts a different perspective on being able to have more hives if you can build the equipment if you have the ability. So here's a few pictures of some stuff that I built, that just as a reference. Personally, I think that it all is way better than any of the other equipment that I have bought over the past couple of years, just for fit and finish, which will probably last longer being good through the years. Table full of end bars on the right hand side. And some resources if you're interested in building anything. Building Beehives for Dummies is a very good resource that goes over all the different designs and plans and how to cut and everything that's needed for it. Michigan Bees has a really good section on their website that Steve Tillman does. He's got some YouTube videos. And then, YouTube has several videos of various people building things, but, maybe not the best for beginners wanting to get into it. You can Google plant, anything like this on the right, which is all your dimensions for all your equipment if you wanted to go that route. And you can talk to, any of us that have built equipment before if you're wanting to get into doing it yourself. So that's all I've got. Just a quick look at what else we can do in the winter if anyone was interested. Does anybody have any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I have had several emails in the last few days and a few weeks about people who wanting to use special treatments inside the hive to augment the bees from staining it, and also from using silicone as the sealers on the corners. Remarks?
You were saying people were wanting to use silicone on the inside of the hive?
Up in the corners to seal them so that the bees wouldn't have to propolis.
Well, if they're good, Will.
Let Chad answer that.
I would say that would not be a good thing to do, just because you're altering, you're trying to prevent the bees from doing what they want to do, and propolis has got its benefits to the bees.
I would second that, as well as add that putting unnatural chemicals into a hive is not beneficial to a bee either. Along with bees are going to propolis, so you're not going to stop them from doing it. Even if you did put silicone in it, they would probably cover it up because they didn't want to be around it.
Chew it out.
So, is that kind of what you was thinking?
I'm totally discouraged in myself, but and that was my reply to them. But I see these guys doing some strange things that don't understand that bees want to do their thing.
My opinion is, as natural as you can keep it, the better off you are. The bees are going to do what they want to do anyway. Might as well.
They're going to stain the inside to prevent the moisture content and all that good stuff to protect it. So, let them have the natural wood to do that with. And that's my theory.
Well, it goes beyond that, because there's also a antibacterial property in that staining process, which is extremely beneficial to the bees.
Yep.
So I don't understand why you would want to stop them from doing that. I can understand trying to keep your cracks at a minimum in the hive to keep propolis down. I can understand trying to keep your frames pushed up together to keep the propolis down. Why somebody would want them to not propolize the corners, that one I don't understand.
They thought that they would save the size and get 10 years use out of their equipment. Ha ha ha.
They're still going to get 10 years use out of it if they maintain the outside of it.
That's it.
Yeah.
The only comment I would have, Chad, is have you checked it? Do you know if the price of, like the 1x12, I know the price of wood's gone up substantially in the last 4 to 6 months.
Actually came down.
Yeah, it hit a peak about
Even looking at like Miller's or whomever, if anybody's thinking about buying, boxes, it may behoove them to buy them now, because once the prices, I guess if they've got them and they've already purchased them, they'll probably sell them if they haven't raised their prices yet, or if we're going to need some more for the bee yard next year. Because the price of wood's gone absolutely through the roof.
I may know a place we can get some boxes pretty cheap. We'll talk about that later, but it's in the works. Wait a minute. I know where we can get some boxes cheap.
For S&A or ATS.
I think a 1x12 though is about $1 more than it was, pre-COVID stuff. So it's not terribly out of price range. I think a 1x6 was about 65 cents more right now. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, because the 2x4's doubled in price.
Yeah, they're like,
Piece of OSB plywood's like $24 from $6.
yeah.
It has started to come back down. It's not back to normal yet, but my gracious, a month ago, it was unreal what lumber was costing. Any other questions, comments? And it doesn't have to be on this topic. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. Nobody?
Did you ever find sugar for the bee yard?
I haven't yet.
I did have another thought
Okay.
on, there's all these little convenience stores, locally owned convenience stores that carry stuff that might be willing to order something.
Right.
So if anybody has a store that they routinely frequent or know the owner in, they may, just ask them if that's something that they can order in large quantities.
Yeah, if we could find some sugar at a reasonable price, and I'm talking to everyone right now, we would purchase 1,000 pounds really quickly. And we're going to need that in the spring buildup this year. Get everything going. I hope to start first middle of February is my plan, which now the weather may say otherwise.
So Sam's Club not available, or are you just looking for something cheaper than Sam's?
I would love to find something cheaper than Sam's.
Have you approached one of the managers of Foodline? They are very generous sometimes in helping nonprofits and so forth. So may be able to give you a bulk price.
So when all this started, Paul, I did contact a manager at Foodline, and they told me that everything going on in the world with COVID, that they were not able to make a bulk purchase of anything. And the best I can understand, in a lot of these store chains, the ordering has been taken away from the actual location and they're being ordered from corporate. I got that from Foodline and Walmart both, that they are actually not placing an order themselves. They were, everything was being ordered by corporate and sent into the stores.
Yeah, I can understand that, but we are very good receivers from Foodline for the Rotary for donations and like that. But I guess that's a little different than this.
So are you telling me that you've got an in in Foodline and you could get us some sugar? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm saying we, in the backpack club, we buy the bulk stuff from Foodline under special contract under packaging. And, but that's the nonprofit, generous for the school children. And so they're generous there. And I didn't know whether this might also fit under something like that. But you've already, asked them that question.
Yeah, I hit roadblocks at both Foodline and Walmart both. So, but Ron, I think that's a good idea. If somebody knows somebody that has a convenience store and can get us some sugar at cost, that would be great, or just a little bit over.
We do have one place here that I can see if that's something that they can do, but it was just something I thought of today.
Okay, thank you so much. And just let me know what you come up with.
I will.
Anybody else got anything? Oh, you just have a terrible time with that phone, aren't you?
Yeah, I I don't know why I can't get it on my computer. It won't accept my password.
You gonna
Joanne sent me the password and the link and so forth, but it would not accept any of the passwords for some reason or other.
well, see, that's your problem. You're dealing with Joanna. You should be dealing with Nicole. That's the IT. That's the IT department. I'm
I like
sorry,
it
Joanna.
with- I
I
like
do.
With Joanne, that she's nice to me.
Okay, guys, if you don't have anything else, I guess we'll see you in next year. And I would like to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And you guys have anything you want to say?
Can you recap back to the first? You are going to start the bee schools?
Yes. If you'll stop wiping your hand over that microphone, the bee school will start first Monday night in February and run through the second Monday night in February, March,
Okay.
on Zoom, and it'll be $30 per application or per link to get in, and you can actually your whole family can attend at that cost.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Am I doing better?
You're doing better. Okay, guys. Well, we're done over here if everybody else is. And like I said, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we look forward to saying goodbye to 2020 and hello to 2021. I'm ready to get this one behind us. I know everybody else is too. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Night. Bye.